So story time. I promise you will be entertained, but if you start the story, please stay till the end. So when I was 5 years old, my entire family was killed in a car crash, and I was the sole survivor. When I turned 18, I decided to move out of state for college because I didn't really have any friends or family in the area anyway. I ended up going to Massachusetts. When I got there, I didn't really know anybody. It was a totally new environment. It was unfamiliar. It was kind of scary. But eventually, I met a guy at the school. He was really nice. We started dating. Eventually we got a place together, and we lived in that house together for 3 years, and we were happy the whole time. Like, he's very, very sweet, very caring, very loving. I just didn't feel alone for the first time, and it was absolutely wonderful. But around the 3 year mark, I started going through something. I started not to feel good. So obviously my first guess was pregnancy, so I took a pregnancy test, but that wasn't it. I was having like headaches and stomach aches and feeling nauseated all the time, feeling like extra sleepy, but it wasn't really like life-ruining symptoms. So I just started doing like ginger for the nausea and like soup if I had a tummy ache, a little bit of Excedrin if I had a headache, whatever, you make it work. But the symptoms just kind of kept getting worse. And like sometimes they would be so bad, I'd have a migraine or a nausea to the point that I couldn't even get up out of bed. And my boyfriend's like, babe, I think you should go see a doctor. And I'm like, what is a doctor gonna do? Like, it's not like I can't breathe. It's not like I have chest pain. I just have random unspecified symptoms. What is he gonna do? But he's like, babe, like, you do not feel good. Like, you should go see a doctor. And I'm like, fine, whatever. So he schedules me a doctor's appointment. I go see the doctor, and it's exactly what I thought it was gonna be. The doctor is just like, there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm like, cool. So I go back home, and things don't get better, but they start to get worse. Because now I'm not just feeling physically bad, I'm feeling bad mentally. And I don't mean my emotions. I'm not sad or depressed. I'm dealing with confusion. I keep finding things in my house in weird places that they shouldn't be. I open my kitchen drawer to get out cutlery, fork, knife. All my earrings are in there. I go look at my jewelry rack. All my cutlery's in there. Paintings that were hanged on the wall are like turning upside down. And at first I'm just like, okay, whatever. These things are very bizarre, but they're not really frightening. Like, I'm just trying to make this logical or reasonable in any way that I can. But I'm forgetting appointments. My fatigue is increasing. Like, it's just so much happening. And then it starts off slow. Little shadows of, like, in my peripheral vision. Little sounds. And like, you can have those things normally. Like, I think we all have those things occasionally. But they're coming more common and more frequent, and I'm starting to lose, like, time. Like, whole days I cannot remember. So finally I make myself an appointment. I go see a therapist. She does the intake, my assessment, and she's like, okay, you fit the diagnostic criteria for schizophrenia. So that was kind of like hard to hear, but at the same time I was thinking, okay, well, now we know what's wrong with me, I can get some help. And my therapist assured me, like, the medication we have these days can make your symptoms like almost nothing. You can go back to living a normal life. And I'm very grateful. I'm like, okay, good. So I break the news to my boyfriend, which was really scary because he was such a sweet and supportive person. I was just scared of being too much of a burden on him or losing him because he was kind of the only person that I had. But he was super sweet, super supportive. He held me while I cried. He went to go pick up my medication for me after running me a bath. Like, just really taking care of me. So I start taking my medicines, but things do not get better. In fact, they get worse because any kind of visuals or auditory hallucinations I was having are becoming more and more and more defined. And we switched medications like 2 or 3 times, and my therapist is like, oh, sometimes, you gotta switch medications a couple times until you find what works. But things are actively getting worse, and I'm seeing and hearing things in my house, and I know that, like, it feels so real. So at this point, I become convinced that I'm not sick, but my house is haunted. I know that sounds insane, but when you are dealing with so much confusion, bizarre things in your house, bizarre noises, like, you become afraid and you're willing to believe almost like anything that could possibly make things better. So I start getting into like these spiritual people talking about the paranormal, and I start trying to like do different things, like I'm burning sage, I'm doing like, whatever. And finally one day my boyfriend has to go help his dad with something. So he leaves me home alone, and I don't fully know what happened, but I do know that apparently I ended up leaving my house a little bit scantily clad, and apparently I was just kind of running around aimlessly, got picked up by the police, taken to the hospital, and obviously psych. And I wake up in the hospital, and as soon as I wake up, the nurse is all over me, like white on rice. And she tells me just wait right there a moment. And I don't know how much time has passed. All I know is that I just woke up in the hospital, and I'm in a room by myself, completely isolated. There's nobody else there. And she comes back with a doctor, my therapist, 3 people, a man, a woman, and another girl, and they're all nicely dressed, beautiful people, and they look really familiar to me, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure of anything anymore. And somebody who is not in a hospital uniform, and that person is in a police uniform. So now I'm looking at this cop and this room full of people like, what did I do? What did I do? I'm afraid. So I asked them, like, am I in trouble? Am I in trouble? And they're like, no, you're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. But, I'm thinking they're just saying that to get me to, like, talk about whatever it was that happened. So the cop is, he's asking me all these questions. Then the doctor cuts in and asks questions. And the nurse is writing a bunch of things down. And the therapist is writing a bunch of things down. But their questions are, like, mad normal. They're just like, what's your name? How old are you? Where did you go to school? Where did you grow up? Tell us about your family. Da da da. And I'm like, okay, like, where are we getting to all this? And I'm just assuming, I've never been in this situation before, in like a psych, whatever. So I'm just sitting there thinking, like, okay, whatever. I don't know their policy. So finally, they end up telling me that they have to give me some news. And my heart is pounding out of my chest at this point, because what news are you about to give me? I guarantee you guys cannot predict what the news was. My name was not the name that I thought I was. In fact, I was not the girl that I thought that I was. Apparently, when I was 17, I was working at the country club that my parents were a part of, and I was a lifeguard. And there was a boy there whose family was not part of the country club, but he had like a small summer job washing dishes or something. And he developed a very unhealthy fixation on me. And he made me very uncomfortable, and he was following me and watching me, and my family was very worried about it. My friends were very worried about it, but I wasn't worried about it, because I was just like, whatever, I'm going to be leaving for college soon, and I was an Ohio kid, and I was going to the Ohio State University, and I was very excited about that. The boy, when the summer ended, went to college, and guess where he went to college? Massachusetts. The boyfriend that I had been living with for 3+ years, he actually kidnapped me, took me to Massachusetts, made me shave my head and wear wigs, used a combination of hypnosis tactics, medicines, and illegal substances and abuse to brainwash me into thinking I was a totally different girl. He told me that my family had died in a car crash. That was absolutely not true. My entire family is alive and well, and they were the 3 people that were in the hospital room when I woke up. He was using sedatives and hallucinogens and any illegal substance basically he could get his hands on to make me think that I was going crazy, so that my dependence on him would never end. Oh, and I know that you're probably thinking, oh, but didn't he tell you to go to the doctor? Yeah, he did. The doctor he sent me to was his dad, who was previously a doctor, but lost his nursing license for basically being inappropriate with patients. And get this, his father was a serial unaliver responsible for the deaths of 8 women in Hyannis. And when I was taken into the hospital, they were finally able to identify me and give me my life back. If you stayed until the end of this video, that was completely fake. That was only for entertainment purposes. None of those things happened to me. I do make original horror content. I am an author and a poet. I hope you guys liked my story. If you stayed for the whole thing, if you would like to see more original horror content on my channel, comment down below. I really hope you guys were entertained by that. Thanks.
my Tinder date went out for a vape, never returned. I'm 99% sure he was on drugs. Here is the worst date I've ever had in my entire life. Now, for a bit of context, his name is Luke. He's from Middlesbrough. He works on a construction site in Belvedere, currently apparently living in Erith. Matched with him on Tinder, spoke to him for 10 days, and here is the date that was awful. So, first and foremost, spoke to him every day, voice noted every day, text every day. Conversation was good, didn't see any red flags, seemed to be a family man, seemed to be quite nice, definite night going to the pub, didn't see any other red flags other than that. On the day of the date, he never texted me good morning, which I thought was a bit odd because he used to text me every day good morning, but then he said he'd been really busy, etc, etc. When I said to him, you know, is it still happening? He said yes. That morning of the date, he called me Katie. He said, good morning, Katie. My name is Georgia. So I was a bit confused. Asked him who Katie is. He said that it was a woman in his office that he worked with on the construction site. I knew it was a lie. Let it slip. We hadn't met. He had no loyalty to me. Whatever. Comes the date. We had agreed 5-6 days in advance that we was getting there for 8 o'clock. I got in a cab at 7:30. Told him I'd be there at 8 o'clock. He said he would be there at 8 o'clock. I'm in the cab. He says to me, I'm running 15 minutes late. Didn't say sorry, just said I'm going to be there at 8:15. I'm like, fine. So I'm sat there. I've got a drink by myself, waiting for him. 8:15 comes, texts me, sorry, I'm leaving in 5 minutes. 8:25 comes, I'm having a nightmare, can't get an Uber. 8:30 comes, I'm ringing him, he's not answering. Rings me back, says he's on his way, said he had a nightmare getting a cab, whatever. I'm really at this point, pit in my stomach thinking something's wrong, I do not want to be on this date. But the waiter's come over to me and he's like, are you going to go? Are you being stood up? And I'm like, I don't know, we'll just see. I'm giving him 5 minutes and I'm leaving at 2:15. In walks Luke as the waiter's talking to me. Luke comes straight over, says that he had a nightmare with his Ubers. He was sweating profusely. He was very chaotic, very erratic. Ordered a Sambuca straight away along with a lager. Sat down next to me, grabbed my legs, grabbed my cheeks, went to kiss me on the lips. I was like, what the fuck? Very handsy, very, very uncomfortable. Straight away, did not like him. Knew that I would never see him again, but didn't want to judge him too much and just kind of put it down to there might be nerves. So as the date's going on, he's talking about himself over and over and over and over and over again, sweating, touching his nose. I asked him, why you unpack it? He said no. I definitely 100% think he was. I just don't think you should come on a date unpack it. It's fucking weird, right? So anyway, I said to him, you do know you need to ask me some questions. You've literally spoke about yourself the whole time. He then was like, I don't need to ask you questions. I've already made up my mind. You're really good looking. You're ginger. You're got good skin. You've got big hips. I really like you. The whole time, I would just be sat there trying to have a normal conversation. He'd be like, hey, you're fucking mint, you. Oh, yeah, you're sexy, you. Like, just literally gross behaviour from a nearly 40-year-old man. He's got children, by the way, and this is a warning to any girl who's speaking to a Luke from Middlesbrough who's working on a construction site in Belvedere who lives in Erith. Stay away from this fucking geezer. He is weird as hell. So dates going on and on. I think he's getting the vibe that I'm not interested. I definitely wasn't. I'd actually looked at my phone to get an Uber when he was in the toilet. He came out the toilet, came back, and he was on his phone 24/7. I said to him, you seem a bit distracted. Do you want to go home? He said no. He said, I'm going out for a vape. I'll be back in a second. Grabbed my face and kissed me on the cheek. Went outside and I was like, he's fucking weird. So anyway, I'm sat there. A woman comes over to me. She says, I'm really sorry, darling. I've just seen him run to a cab but like duck down through the window so that you couldn't see because I was sat facing the window outside. I said, it's fine, to be honest. I've been looking at getting a cab myself. Like, he's really not a fucking bit of me. So anyway, she said the guy I'm drinking with right now actually works on a site with Luke on the construction site. Come and sit with us while you wait for your cab and we'll tell you everything. So I've gone over to the table. Her name is Claire. I'm going to put a photo here, by the way. I'll just pause a little bit so that you can see her. Claire is a gem. Claire is a random woman in the pub who done the right thing. Girls, to the core. She said to me, he has mugged you off. I said, it's fine. I wasn't interested. The guy she was with said he's a prick. Everyone on site thinks he's a prick. He's a cocky northerner who's down here, probably got a life back home, cheated on his missus, got kids, etc. I know he's got kids. He's got a 15-year-old and a 7-year-old, I think, girl and a boy. And they're basically just looking, these northerners down here are just basically looking to bang every type of woman they can. He's obviously realised with you he's getting nowhere and he's done the off. So yeah, that was the worst day of my entire life. Absolutely disgusting. He is a piece of shit. Everything about him was obnoxious, narcissistic, self-centered, vile man. Should never leave a woman sitting there. It's dangerous as well. She's on her own in a space where everyone's drinking. And yeah, I just want to put it out there. If any girls are speaking to a guy called Luke from Middlesbrough who's working on a site in Belvedere and lives in Erith, run for your fucking life, because he is not the one. Trust me.
Scary story. My friend, I was probably about 15 or 16 years old, and I was at my friend's house, and her and her sister, their uncle was telling this to us, and he is now since passed on, God rest his soul. And but he told us the scary story, and then he came and stayed with them in Regina at the time, and they were like, oh, what come you're doing here? And he said, man, I got spooked out. He was like, I was on the res and I got spooked out. He was like, so I'm just kind of like laying low for a while, just come change the scenery or whatever. Anyways, we were all like, oh yeah. And he was like, well, what happened? And we're all just kind of sitting around in the living room, and he was just like real serious, like he was telling us that story. He's like, man, he was like just like reliving it. And he was like, well, he was like, I was gaming. He was like at his cousin's house, or his friend, and he was saying we were gaming, and he said it was probably like 3:30, and he was like, then I was kind of getting tired and we're done for the night. And then he said, I'll let you guys go or whatever, like that. I'm gonna head out. And shit, it was just pure dark out too. And he was like, shit, I gotta walk home or whatever like that. So anyways, he dabbed up his cousin. He said, later, bro. And then he was like, hey, I don't know. And they just said goodbye. And then he left. And it was dark out, and he had kind of quite a ways to walk, but it was in the kind of a subdivision or like a town site. And there was light posts like between here and there. And then there was like this subdivision, and there was like this little area walkway, and then there was another subdivision, and he lived in the other one, like he lived in the other town site. And then so he had to walk from his cousin's house all the way to like through that little walkway area and get to his house. So he said he was walking, and he said it was like he was kind of chilled, you know, a little bit kind of scared or whatever, but he was just like, oh, whatever, you know, like that. He's walked that numerous times before, so he wasn't sweating it. So he was walking there, and he kind of heard rustling bushes behind him. And he kind of just was like, what the hell? And he just kind of like, oh, like just trying to keep his eye on the prize and keep walking to the next light. And then he heard kind of like laughing, kind of just like distantly, like kind of giggles, or like kind of just like, I don't know. To me, in my mind, it didn't seem like giggles, maybe more menacing, more like, more not like, I don't know, man, what he was saying. Like he heard giggling and like wrestling in the bushes, and they kept running. And so he just started picking up the pace, man. He's like, shit, I'm out of here, man. And so he went running, and he went running to the next light post. And he went running on the light post, and he'd like stand underneath that light post and just kind of like, and just kind of like catch his breath and kind of like look around, and then like take off to the next light post. He said he was going from light post to light post because the light was there. And he said when he was in the dark, he was just full tilt running. And he was like, he said he could still hear like sound like something was chasing him or like following him and like laughing. And he said he just like was freaking out. He was like freaking the hell out. And then he stopped, and like he like turned around, and then he was underneath the light post, and he stopped, and he turned around, and he could see something rustling in the bushes. And then he said all of a sudden he seen Joker. And you know what you look like on the side of the cards, what those like jesters look like? He said it was a jester, and it had like a thing on, and it was walking on its hands, and it just had it just like looked up, and it just had this really like ugly ass face, and it just started like running towards him on its hands, and its like legs were up. And he said as soon as he seen that, he was fucking out of there, man. He said, I don't think I've ever ran so fast in my life. He said, I just was like, it felt like I wasn't even touching the ground how fast I was running. I felt like I was just like, I've never ran that fast in my life. He said he ran home and he got into his house, and then he was just like freaking, he says he was freaking out, man. And when he was telling us that story, like he was like almost like emotional, like he was like tearing up or like reliving it. Like there's no way in hell he was making that shit up. Like he was just like telling us a traumatic event that happened to him. And I think about that all the time. I mean, like I that's one of the probably scariest things I've ever heard. That, like I always just think like, yeah, jester, like just like Joker face, like just. I try to do it here. I'll show you guys.
So today we're going to be diving into some more scary content, and we're going to be talking about 1999, the creepypasta. I first read this creepypasta when I was probably a freshman in high school, and it really stuck with me. I don't know what about it is so freaky, but I finally found it again today, and I'm going to share it and read it with you guys. Just a disclaimer, this is not my story. I did not write this. This is from creepypasta on the internet. I'm just going to be sharing it. So let's dive into part 1. The year is 1999. That sentence brings me back to my senior kindergarten class when I was 5 years old, where we used to read out the date on the blackboard every single day. The year 1999 exists as a stain in my mind, however, as a memory that will not go away no matter how I try to forget it. 1999 marked the year I lost my first tooth, my first time on a plane, and unfortunately, the early loss of my childhood innocence. That one memory that refuses to be wiped. It all started with that new, or old, TV. At that time, Pokemon was the latest fad to hit the school. Pokemon cards, games, stickers, and the most popular, the TV show. So, of course, every time I came home from school, I would stay glued to the TV until Pokemon came on at 5. The only problem was that my dad watched the news at 5:30, and Pokemon episodes were back-to-back, which meant I had to miss an episode every day. Something I whined on and on about. My dad got tired of hearing me complain every day, and that must be why he went and bought another TV. My dad put the TV he bought in my room. Unfortunately, it was just an old small boob tube with rabbit ears even. It also only had 20 channels available, not including the channel Pokemon was on. I recall I didn't care though. I was just thrilled I had my own TV in my room. After surfing through the channels, I came to the conclusion that only channel 2, TVO Kids, was worth watching, so I watched that for a while. It wasn't for another few months until I discovered channel 21. One day in April, I was flipping through the channels trying to see if Pokemon was on. I pressed channel 21 into the remote, hoping there were more channels, and to my delight, there was. My dad was surprised too, but he let me watch it because it seemed to have a kids program on. The channel was called Calden Local 21, and later I found out it was indeed broadcasted from the very town of Calden, Ontario, a town very close to my own city. The shows I saw on Calden Local 21 looked poorly made, and I never understood what was going on in them half the time. However, as I grew up, every time I thought of that channel, I realized more and more how messed up the shows were, and I had to ask myself, what the fuck was I watching? The following is a list of shows and episodes I remember seeing on Calden Local 21. How I remember such detail even disturbs me, but I guess things like this stand out in your mind for a while. The channel only ran a few shows, probably because it was only operational between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. And that is the first part of 1999.
I did not believe in ghosts until Monday night. My whole life, I'm just naturally skeptic about, like, the good spirits and the bad spirits. Like, I have a hard time believing in anything, you know? My husband believes in everything. So, you know, he's claimed to have spirits visit him throughout his life, you know, and things like that. But I have just always been like, okay, yeah, I believe that you believe you saw that. But then, like, you know, I don't know. I have a hard time with that. Monday night, though, I was laying in bed. My bed faces the door, which was open, and then there's the hallway, which is just a wall. Okay? So my husband was playing video games, and sometimes he comes up and checks on me, and then he goes back down. So I see a shadow of what I had no reason other than to believe that was him come check on me and leave. So I called him and I was like, hey, can you come back upstairs? I want to talk to you for a second. And then he was like, oh, no, I'm in the basement. What do you mean? I was never upstairs. And I was like, oh, okay. Someone's in the house. Come upstairs. Grab your weapon and come upstairs. So he runs upstairs with his weapon. We're looking around the house. This is all happening very quickly. There's nowhere that anyone could have gone in that amount of time or we wouldn't have found them. So, I mean, at this point, I'm not thinking anything paranormal still. I'm just thinking like someone's in my house, so I'm checking on my babies. I looked everywhere in my kids' rooms. My daughter was asleep on my floor because she wasn't feeling good, so I looked in my room. Everything was good. There was no one there. No windows were open. No doors were unlocked. So we go downstairs. We kind of start talking about it. He's already convinced himself that it's paranormal, so he's called his family members that have also seen paranormal things in their lifetime, and he's talked to them, and we go upstairs and we see like where the light was, and I'm like, okay, something else had to have happened. Like something else could have cast that shadow. Like maybe there was a bug fly in front of the light or something. Like let's just mess around with the light, see what could have caused the shadow. The only way that I found that could have cast a shadow the way that it would have had to have been a very, very tall person to cast from where I saw on the wall all the way down. And it would have had to have been standing in the nursery doorway. So I think that's weird, but I'm still, I'm not going to that place. Like, it just, okay, I kind of am now, I guess. I should be honest. I kind of am thinking about it, but not like I'm still in denial. So I'm looking around. We don't see anything. I don't have, like, a bad feeling or anything. I feel pretty neutral. People say like that you can feel evil energy. I don't know, but I didn't feel anything. So, I was downstairs, kind of just like looking around, and then my husband went into the nursery, starts yelling, "Get the babies!" So he picks up what happened was he saw the spirit that he had seen throughout his childhood standing above our daughter in her crib. And so we were out of that house in 20 seconds in the car on the way to my mom's house. Like, that's just, we were gone. We were not risking anything. I'm a skeptic, but I'm not stupid. I'm getting out of there. So then we have animals. So we had to go back in the morning to go feed our animals. He went with my dad. My dad went to go, check things out. I stayed at my mom's house with my babies. They came back. They were like, nothing's weird. We didn't feel anything. All good. So now I'm not worried. We went back at night to feed the animals dinner. We're like, okay, we're going to stay at the house one more time just because, we're still like a little freaked out of what it could have been because I know what I saw. I know that someone was there. Like, I don't know. I know that I saw something. So I'm still a little freaked out. So I go over there with my husband to feed the dog, but I'm not even worried. So I open the door, not even scared. And every cabinet and every drawer in my kitchen was wide open. My husband didn't leave it that way. My dad said that they were all closed when they left. And then I went into each of my rooms, each of like my kids' rooms and my room, and all the drawers were wide open. I went into my bathroom, wide open. My cabinets were wide open. So I was freaked out. I was out of there. We called my parents. They came. All four of us were walking through the house, trying to see like if something was taken, trying to see if like someone had broken into my house. There was nothing taken. There were no like entrances of the home that were left unlocked or like weirdly opened or anything. Any of the valuable stuff in my house was still there. So it didn't look like someone had broken in, but I don't know. So I am feeling weird about it. I do feel, I don't know, like I sound crazy being like, there's a ghost in my house, but I don't know. Like, I'm freaked out now. So now what I'm going to do about it is I'm going to go and I'm going to salt the outside of my house. I'm going to go give it a good sage. I'm going to get a religious leader to come bless the home, kind of say a prayer over everything, and we'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys updated. But now I have like my cameras working, and because my cameras were there, but they weren't like, I have like a blink camera, and so my notifications and like movement was off. So now I have it on, and it'll notify me if there's any movement or activity. I don't know. I feel stupid saying this, but I'm scared. I don't know how to like explain some of that. But yeah, keep you guys updated.
This is
is a story time of the haunted house I grew up in and what made me get into the paranormal. So I moved into this house when I was about 4 years old. My sister would have been about 2. It's about 15-20 minutes out of Geelong. And for the first year of living in this house, nothing out of the normal happened. The first time I remember experiencing anything in this house, I was asleep. I felt tapping on my shoulder, so I turned over because I thought it was one of my parents, and I see this, what looked like a wolf, and I swear to God, I swear on my whole damn life, I saw this thing. I screamed, I called out for my parents. I thought someone had broken into my house wearing a wolf costume. Little did I know, this thing was really there, but it wasn't human. From then, I would not sleep in my room. I would refuse to sleep without either one of my parents. So me and my dad often used to sleep on the couch. Now, down from our couch was a hallway, and at the end of that hallway we had our playroom with all of me and my sister's toys. There was a really, really bad smell that used to come from that room. It smelled like rotten. It was gut-wrenching. Outside of that window of our playroom we had our trampoline, so me and my sister were always out there. There was always this lady looking out the window, an old lady looking out the window watching us jump on the trampoline. Obviously I told my parents what I was seeing. They didn't believe me. When my dad and I would sleep on the couch, we would hear whispers coming from down the hallway, and this one night it was distorting the whispers. They were very loud, and I kept saying to my dad, can you hear that, can you hear that? He was like, yes, just go to sleep, forget about it. Next minute we hear smash, glass shattering. Earlier that day we had gone for a walk with our dog, and I'd picked up a bolt off the ground. I put this bolt on the bench when we got home. This bolt had flown across the kitchen and smashed our oven door. Of course, we've all shit ourselves and we've run out the front door. We didn't come back for a few days. We stayed at our grandparents'. The day we come home from our grandparents', our smoke alarm kept going off. We ended up taking the batteries out of the smoke alarm because it was battery operated, because this thing was just going off non-stop. That thing with no batteries, no power, that thing still was going off. We didn't think much of it. We thought something was faulty. Obviously we told all of our family and friends what had been going on in this house, what we were experiencing. None of them believed us, so we said, okay, this Saturday night, come over, bring cameras, experience what we're experiencing. Of course we wanted to catch what was happening on camera. My uncle is the biggest skeptic, so he was going around the house taking photos in every room, taunting what was in these rooms. This is one of the photos he took in the office. Can you see what I'm looking at? What is that? What is that? My uncle ended up calling my dad saying, I've caught this on camera. What is this? We could not explain what that was. I had not seen it. No one knew what this thing was. Next Saturday night we had a 40th to go to, so we got home. Some family stayed over at our house. Obviously I didn't want to sleep on my own, but my parents didn't want to sleep with me, so I threw a tantrum. I would not sleep. I was crying, I was screaming. My parents had had enough. My dad used to smoke, so he said I'll go out the front for a smoke and then we'll work out what to do, like, to get me to sleep. My dad come back into my room and was like to me and my mum, why did you trash the house? And we're like, what do you mean? He went to our family that was staying at the back of the house and was like, why did you trash the house? And they were also like, what do you mean? We've been in here the whole time. We would have passed Chloe's room if we went to the front. What my dad walked into, we can still not explain till this day. My parents' room and the front lounge room were turned upside down. My dad obviously thought someone had still done that or someone had broken in, so he said, I'll go out for a smoke, we'll come inside and we'll work out what has happened. And my mum were in my room, our family was at the back of the house, my sister was asleep. We heard the front door open and then we heard like just a massive bang. The front door slammed shut and then just like a plop We had all run into that front room, my family included, that was staying over, and my dad was unconscious on the floor throwing up green stuff. Obviously we called an ambulance because we didn't know what happened. The paramedics got there, they took his shirt off to put heart monitors on his chest, and they found this scratch and these scratches on his back. He also had scratches down his face, neck, and he was in a neck brace. My dad was getting treated by the paramedics and he come to. I told him, and this is all on video, that I had seen that wolf in that lounge room where he was laying unconscious. Obviously at this point my parents started believing me that something was off in this house. So much stuff was happening, things were flying across the room in front of our eyes. TV channels were switching while we were watching TV. We pulled the plug out, like the power source of the TV, so there was no power. That TV still would turn on. At this point, didn't know what to do. We ended up calling a priest over to bless the house. This priest was also connected to a TV show that used to air on Foxtel back then, so they asked permission to come and film in our house. The medium from this TV show was instantly drawn to that back room. It had gone down there. She had said that I feel a presence of an old lady. Little me runs down the hallway and says, "Yes, it's Maria." Who's Maria? That footage never ended up being aired. TV show broke down after our house because the cameraman felt like something was trying to enter his body and he quit there on the spot. After that, the priest told us there's no way we can cleanse this house. Whatever here is too strong. You've got poltergeists here. There was many other things that my dad and I had seen and heard in that house. So we called our real estate agent and said, we're breaking our lease, we want to move out. And when he asked why, we told him what we had been experiencing, especially in that back room with that smell. He goes, "Oh, my mum actually died in that room. Her name was Maria. We were on holidays when she died, so she was left there for 2 weeks decomposing." Ended up moving out, but that's only tiny bit of what had happened in that house. I've got so many stories I can tell you. All my childhood friends experienced things in that house that they could tell you about, but let me know if you want more stories.
I like to play a little game at home called Refrigerator Jenga, where I try to remove something from the very back without moving any of the items cluttered in front of it. And it's fun because if I win, I get my item and I feel proud of myself. And if I lose, I spend 40 minutes cleaning up marinara and broken glass off the floor.
Get ready with me while I tell you something very scary I went through. Correction, that I went through. Okay, so this story took place in 2016. My parents, they clean offices, and me and my brother, we used to go help them at the time. So it's basically like they go at night when nobody's in the buildings to clean the offices. So I don't want to say exactly where this was, but this building was pretty big. It was a 2-story building, and we would usually separate. So it would be my mom and dad, and then me and my brother. So there was this one specific time where there were some construction workers and they had to go at night too, so nobody's at the building. So me and my brother, we were in an office, and sometimes the bucket where we throw the trash in gets really full. So I would tell my brother, "Can you go throw the trash?" So I could start taking more trash out because it didn't fit anymore. So I noticed my brother was taking a little longer than he should have, and I was like, okay, let me just leave. So I was like, let me just leave. I'm already done with this office, so let me see where he's at. So this is where it gets really freaking creepy. By the time I get to the hallway, my mom and dad and my brother are there. And my brother is telling them that he ran into a construction worker. My brother starts telling my dad how the construction worker stopped him and asked him if he's ever heard noises in the building or if he's ever seen anything. My brother then tells him, yeah, we do hear things sometimes, but we just like ignore it, or we just don't pay much attention to it. Although there were times we did hear things and we got scared. Well, the construction worker starts telling my brother that they're not coming at night anymore. They're getting their stuff and leaving because they saw a little boy. So they saw a little boy dressed in hospital clothes, like a hospital gown, running through the hallway, and a doctor or nurse type looking chasing after them. Yeah, and mind you, This building is not a hospital, not a clinic. It is a call center. So it was a call center upstairs, and downstairs it was a DR Horton. The DR Horton office was where the construction workers were in. So my dad starts saying like there's no way, they just made that up. Start saying they're just trying to scare you, like blah blah blah. So we just like go about the date. We didn't really think much of it. It did scare us, but we were like, what the fuck? So fast forward a couple months later. So we're back in the building and my dad comes up to us and he looks freaking scared. And we're like, what happened? And he said that he saw so my dad starts telling us that he was in the hallway and that he saw a doctor pushing a patient on like a hospital bed, and they were exiting the building, and that my dad yelled, "Hey!" and that they turned and looked at him directly. The patient looked directly into my dad, and my dad was like looking at him, and that quickly they exited the building. And my dad said he ran out of the building, and when he went out there was nothing, like no cars. It was empty. It's just our car there in the building parking lot. So after that, we decided that we did not want to separate, and my dad was like, F that, we're not separating. We literally saw what the construction workers said that they saw, except it wasn't a kid, it was like an older guy. So, well, shortly after that happened, we didn't work there long after that. But now, so a couple months from today, we went to go visit that building, but it's completely abandoned. Like, it's just, there's nothing in it. So I'm just like, but yeah, let me know if you guys believe in ghosts, and let me know if you guys want more scary stories, because I have a lot.
Max Joseph, you fucked with the wrong bitch. Story time. So about a week ago, I matched with this guy called Max Joseph. Here is his picture. And from the start, he was very persistent about us meeting up, okay? And a key thing to remember here is he liked my Hinge profile. Now, I'm just going to quickly show you what's on my Hinge profile for full transparency, okay? So he liked my profile, and the first thing he sent to me was a voice note, and he said, "I'm loving the pictures. We should arrange to meet up this week or next." Okay, so he's quite persistent about wanting to meet up, and he's the one that's liked my profile, okay? On my profile, it shows my full body. I have 3 full body pictures and 3 selfies. This is also important to the story, okay? So now Max has asked me for my phone number, and I gave him my phone number, and you can see, again, he wants to meet up, and he even called me a few times prior to us meeting up, okay? Now, here's where the story gets a little bit weird. He did ask me for my Instagram, okay? And I sent him my Instagram because, again, I don't catfish people. I'm not in the business of catfishing. I send him my Instagram, and he goes through my whole Instagram profile, yeah? I only have 1 post, but I do have highlights that I've kept up, and they are from a few years ago. So in those highlights, admittedly, I have a much slimmer frame. But these are not the pictures that are on my Hinge profile, so they're not even relevant, okay? They're not what I used to, quote-unquote, advertise myself, if that makes sense. So he takes a screenshot of a picture of me, and he says, "You look so different here. I'm confused. What do you actually look like now?" So I told him, the 1 post on my Instagram that I have on my grid, that is me in present day. He said, "Okay, cool." And I even said to him, "You can see my body." Yeah. So bear that in mind. So now it rolls around to Sunday, which is today, the day I'm filming this, the day that this has happened. And we agree we're going to meet up at 2 p.m. Okay, 2 p.m. Keep that in mind. 2 p.m. rolls around. I'm still not ready. So I asked him, can we push it back to 3 p.m.? And we plan to meet in Pineapple Station, yeah? So I was going to meet him in Pineapple Station, and he was going to pick me up from Pineapple Station, and then from there we were going to decide what we were going to do. So I get to Pineapple Station at 3 p.m, and I meet him, and I get in his car, and we're having like small talk, and we're just talking about how I got here and whatnot, and everything seems quite normal. So now we are en route to a local pub, and he says to me, oh, why don't we actually go to a local pub in Strawberryland where you live? Because I live in Strawberryland, yeah? And I said to him, no, I don't want to go to Strawberryland, because me personally, if I'm going to go on a date, I prefer to just not be in my area so there's people can't see me, if that makes sense, yeah? So he was like, oh, okay, cool, we won't go to Strawberryland. So then he gets a call from a girl called Melanie Joseph, who I'm going to assume is his sister, because who saves their mum's number as first name and surname? That just seems odd to me. So he gets a call from her, and she's like, oh, Dad's taking a turn for the worst. We need to go to the hospital right now. Like, whatever you're doing, you just need to come now. And he's like, oh, what happened? What happened? And she's like, oh, I'll tell you when you get here. Convenient, right? So after the phone call ends, I say to him, you know, family first is fine. I can leave and we can do this another time. It's fine. And then he's acting like he cares about how long the journey is going to be for me. And he's like, oh, should I drop you here or drop you there? I'm like, no, it's fine. Just drop me at Kiwi Station and I'll make my way back to Strawberryland. So now my phone was on like 2-3% at this point. So I wasn't checking my socials when I was on my way home, right? I got the bus back to Strawberryland. So I wasn't checking my socials, and I didn't text him on WhatsApp straight away to find out, like, to let him know, like, how my journey's going, right? So I go all the way home. It takes me 1 hour to get home, yeah, to get to Strawberryland. And then when I get home, I decide I'm going to go to the gym. So I get ready to go to the gym, charge my phone a bit, and then when I'm making my way to the gym, I send him a text and I say, oh, I got home safe, because I tend to do that if I see a guy. I'll say, okay, I got home safe when I'm home safe. And it doesn't go through. But first I was thinking, okay, it could just be my signal or his signal that's making it not go through. But then it clocked to me, I lost a follower, because I did check Instagram like a few times when I was en route home to Strawberryland. I saw that I lost a follower. So I went to his page, which is, as you can see, it's this, and it says user not found, right? So I got blocked, right? And I was like, wow. So I called him, and I think I'm blocked there too, but I called him and I just said, you know, you're a coward. I did not catfish you, because you saw my images on Hinge, on Instagram, and I even sent additional photos of what I look like. So guys, tell me what you think of this story. This is so crazy. Like, this is like the first time I've had a negative experience on Hinge. And you know what? I'm a grown up. I'm 28 years old. If somebody is not attracted to me, I'm not going to go and die. Like, it doesn't affect me. I literally know I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. So if he had multiple opportunities to express, hey, I'm not attracted to you. I thought I was initially, but actually I'm not. He had multiple times to make that decision and not waste my time and have me travel all the way to Pineapple Station just to be sent back home. But yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think about this let me know what you think about this story.
82% of CIA agents are men, which is crazy to me, because one time I used a guy's public Venmo transaction history and his Twitter likes to figure out that he was also seeing a girl across the country. And I just don't believe a man could do that.
Never thought I'd be scared of a knock-knock joke, that's for sure. But after listening to this story last night, I had to go to the restroom, and the whole time I'm in the restroom, I'm like, no one better knock on my door right now. No one better knock on my door. So the guy gets woken up by his girlfriend saying, knock, knock. He looks at the time, and it is 3:27 in the morning, and he is so confused. So he's like, what are you doing? Why are you waking me up saying knock, knock? And her response to all of that is, knock, knock. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, we're asleep. Why are you waking me up trying to get me to play this little game with you by saying knock knock? And his girlfriend's like, just answer me. And she goes, knock knock. And he's like giving up, so he's like, fine, who's there? And she says, it's not me, don't open the door. Turns around and goes back to sleep, and he stays there like, what the fuck? So he ends up going to bed still, and the following morning he wanted to ask her why she did that, and it almost seemed like she was trying to ignore his question, but she ends up telling him, oh, it's just a little prank that I thought of, and like she leaves to work. Like, she was trying everything to avoid the question for whatever reason. So they both go to work, they have dinner, and they go to bed, and again he gets woken up by her saying knock knock. He looks at the clock and it's 3:27 in the morning, and he looks at her and says, you already told me this was a prank. Why are you doing this again? Let's just go back to sleep. And the only thing she responds to him with is, knock knock. So he's irritated and he's like, what is the point of this? What are you doing? Like, just tell me what's the end game. All she says is, just answer, knock knock. And he's like, fine, who's there? And she goes, it's not me, don't open the door. She turns around and goes back to bed. So at this point, the boyfriend is angry because he's like, why is she waking us up over a stupid prank or joke or a game when we both have to work the next day? So that morning when they woke up to go to work, he was like, you need to tell me why you're doing this. And she wasn't going to leave the door like she did the first night, not really giving him a real answer. So he's like, you need to tell me why. What's the end game? What are you doing? However, she gives him the same answer. It's just a game. It's just a game. Like, and he's like, why? And she's like, it's a game. And she just like leaves the house. So as you can imagine, they come home, have dinner, go to sleep, and again she wakes him up at 3:27 in the morning, but this time he's not answering. He's like, why are you doing this? What is the end game? And she goes, just answer, knock knock, just answer. And he's like, no. And she's like, answer, knock knock, answer. And he's like, I'm not answering, why are you doing this? So he's like, you know you're causing a problem in our relationship. This isn't a joke anymore. You're waking me up in the middle of the night when we both have to go to work. So no, I don't want to play your game. Why are you doing this? You're like creating issues in our relationship. And she's still like, answer, please, answer, knock knock. So he ends up saying, who the fuck is it? Like, who the fuck is at that door? And she goes, it's not me, don't open the door. She turns around and goes to sleep. So morning comes around and he wants to have a serious conversation with her. So he tells her, I don't know how or what kind of conversation I need to have with you to let you know that it's really messed up that you keep waking us up in the middle of the night and it's creating a big problem. And this time she was like apologetic. She's like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to do it. I just thought it was a game. He's angry with that answer because it makes no fucking sense where you keep doing this to him, you know what I mean? So he storms out. He goes to work and all day she's sending him text messages like, I'm sorry, and she's calling him, he's not answering. He's ignoring everything. He mentions that the last text that she sends him is like, I'm so sorry, I know that sleep is important, I promise this is not gonna happen again, please forgive me. But the boyfriend kind of starts feeling bad because they had never argued like this before, so for him to ignore her calls or texts made him feel a little bit guilty. So he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna forgive her and I'm gonna make her dinner because I don't want this to be like the end of us. So he goes home, he makes her dinner, they eat together, and they go to bed. This time he gets woken up again with a knock knock. He glances at the clock and it's 3:27 in the morning, and he says that he wants to get up and just scream at the top of his lungs, like he wants to grab everything in that room and just fucking break it apart. So he says that he turns to look at his girlfriend that's probably next to him, like say knock knock, but instead she's standing on the bed looking down at him with the craziest smile saying knock knock. The way he describes this smile, I don't know if you guys ever seen that movie, oh my god, the movie Smile, okay, where it's like extended and it looks freaky. He's like, the smile was very off-putting. It was not like her normal smile. So as he's looking up at her with that weird fucking smile, he says, what are you doing? And in between that smiley face, she's telling him, knock knock. Oh my god, I got chills. At that moment, after she says knock knock again with her weird ass fucking smile, he says that her body started cracking and bending and it was like a scene from a scary movie, and it scared him so much that he jumps out of bed and runs to the kitchen. But once he gets to the kitchen to catch a breath, he hears a knock at the front door. When he hears the knock, his first instinct is like, who is it? And it's his girlfriend's voice saying, love, please open the door. Whatever is in there is not me. Open the door, please. Whatever is in there is not me. Open the door, please. Please open the door. Don't listen to the person that's in there. Open the door. He has no idea what to do because he's like, who's the real one in the bedroom, outside the door? But in that moment, he had no time to do anything because whoever was in the bedroom, his girlfriend, comes out with that creepy smile, running full force towards him. But by the time she's about to get to him, he faints, passes out because of how scared he was. He says that he wakes up 2 hours later and his girlfriend is nowhere in that home. He says that he hasn't seen her since. He even made a police report or a missing person report because he has not heard of her. He has not seen her. Like, she's disappeared and has never returned. Honestly, that scares me more because what if one day she comes back with her creepy ass smile? Can you imagine? Knock knock. Oh, I just scared myself. Anyway, what do you guys think? Because first of all, the first knock knock, if my husband woke up and said knock knock and I'm like, who's there? It's not me, don't open the door. Divorced, bitch. What the fuck?
People think the Grand Canyon is empty after dark, but if you camp near Bright Angels Point, you might see something glowing in the cliffs long after sunset, like an office building covered in rock. And in fact, these lights are so common that some locals in northern Arizona have a name for this story. It's called the Canyon's Pulse. And we got a story from a listener who camped there. But before I get into that, it's important to note that these stories started back in the 1950s when a group of park rangers reported seeing a column of white fire rising from the Grand Canyon floor. Mysteriously, the ranger logs from that week have disappeared. This story came from Meredith, and she says last spring she and two friends were camping on the north rim of the Grand Canyon near Bright Angel Point. She said that part of the park is closed for a lot of the year, but they were camping in May, partially because they wanted to go before all the crowd showed up. And where they were camping was just outside of the official boundary of the park. It was down an old Forest Service road just off of Point Sublime Trail. Now, Meredith said they didn't have any service where they were camping at, and once the sun went down, it was total darkness, total silence. They went to bed early. She woke up around midnight needing to pee, and so she went off to the bathroom. That's when she noticed a faint blue light coming from deep within the canyon. She thought at first maybe it was a headlamp, but this was coming from deep below the rim, way past any campsite, way past any trail. She quickly rules out that it's a headlight or a flashlight because it pulsed 3 short bursts and then it went dark. She could not for the life of her figure out what it was. So she woke up her friends, they went to the edge of the rim again and they were looking for this light, and that's when it reappeared. But this time there were more of them. The original light lit up and then there was another one to the east, but she said this must have been miles from the original light. They all stood at the edge watching and they see a third light come on, and they're all pulsing and blinking in different patterns and different rhythms, and it almost seems like they're sending signals to each other. And that's when she said something happened that she still can't really explain, but her friends saw it too. The whole canyon, for a split second, lit up as if from within. She said, I swear to you, it looked like there were actual windows glowing behind the rock face like an office building lit up at night. She said you could even make out the pattern, square shapes of light stacked in rows fading deep within the canyon. And then she said as suddenly as it lit up, it went dark, and that's when they heard a low mechanical hum coming from deep down below them. And at that point, they noticed a dark helicopter that swept over the rim. It was totally dark, totally unmarked, and without lights. She said they didn't even hear it until it was almost right above them, but it turned into the gorge and then disappeared completely from sight. When the helicopter disappeared, the 3 lights that they saw originally also went out completely. The next day, they went over to the overlook at Bright Angel Point, and they were looking for any signs of campsites or anything from down below that could have explained what they experienced the night before, but they couldn't find anything. And they actually ended up telling a ranger what they saw, and he said, oh, those were probably just survey drones. So Meredith said she asked him, like, what kind of survey drone can make the inside of a canyon look like an office building, and he didn't answer. They stayed one more night, but didn't notice anything strange. So they camped 2 nights, and then the following morning they left and were driving toward Jacob Lake, and they were going to grab some breakfast. They ended up stopping at a diner that she said looked like it had been there forever, and their server was this older woman with her hair pulled tight into a gray bun. She was pleasant, she was polite, she was making conversation with them, and so they told her about the black helicopter and the lights they saw in the canyon. But this woman didn't even bat an eye. She's like, oh, you saw them, huh? And they're like, we saw them. What do you mean? She's like, yeah, y'all aren't the first people this month to see them. We call that the Canyon's Pulse. And then she leans in and she's like, back when I started here, the rangers used to come in here and they would talk about these pulsing lights and nobody knew what they were. Not even the rangers. They would show up, they would pulse, a black helicopter would fly down, and then they would all go out. Meredith and her friends press her for a more concrete answer, but she said she doesn't really know much. And she said some people say they're survey drones, and that makes sense, sure. Other people think it's related to the Cold War experiments they were doing at Camp Navajo. She tells them that they'll never admit to anything, though. But then she says, I think that it's the canyon itself. I think the canyon watches people. I think it's alive. And then Meredith and her friends are like, why do you think that? The woman smiles and she says, yeah, when I was young, I was hiking with my brother, and I swear the whole canyon lit up like a city. There were lights coming from everywhere. And I just felt like the canyon wanted to be seen. I can't explain it further than that. It's just a feeling that I. And so Meredith's like, well, has anyone else around here seen it? Or what do they think? And this old woman's just like, nobody around here thinks anything. Everybody around here knows. Meredith said she's been back to the Grand Canyon twice, and although she hasn't seen the lights again, she just has this feeling now that there's something buried and ancient there that's hiding in plain sight. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. I've only been to the Grand Canyon once when I was too little to remember it, but I would love to go back. So anybody local, please weigh in. If you're new here, my series is called Spooky Scary Storytime, and I try to post a new story almost every single day about the things that people experience that they think nobody